I don't, did you see that um that video I sent you in which he was on Fox Business with Stuart Varney, like the biggest billionaire bootlicker of bootlickers.
Richard Wolff was?
Hmm.
I don't think I saw this.
Well, basically, like the one form of socialism that Richard Wolff tries to advocate for the most is talking about socialism as in democratizing the workplace.
Yeah, that seems pretty, yeah, foundational.
Yeah, and he's been talking about like very much like the past economic systems. You know, we've had our trial runs. Not all of them have worked. There's been some minor successes here and there, and uh, the typical idea of how we apply this kind of ideology to our society has changed over the last couple centuries. Very much like with, when capitalism was born out of feudalism, it was very much like that. And basically Stuart Varney was basically telling him what he believed, like telling Richard Wolff what Richard Wolff believed,
Oh,
because that's what Stuart Varney does best. He acts like he knows, like he really understands socialists or
here, do you want
socialism.
to, do you think it would be a good idea to share the video and just react to it?
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. I'm gonna pull it up and then I'm gonna share the screen.
Sounds good. Yeah, because I want to see this.
Yeah.
Sometimes the chat just gets so flooded, I can't look at everything.
Especially the last couple nights in which we were just telling jokes back and forth.
Oh my god, yeah.
It has been fun though. All right. Okay, so I think I found it. All right. Let me share the screen. All right, can you see it?
Yes.
Democracy at Work founder and the New School visiting professor Richard Wolff is with us now.
This was like back in this is like after the midterms in 2018, and I'd like see like the headline. Like this was like, and Elizabeth Warren announced her presidential run.
Sense. I was wondering what she was doing up there. Okay.
Yeah, she announced her presidential run back in December 2018.
She doesn't go, you're the Marxist, right?
I am. Happy to be so.
In 20, I can't believe it. You actually are
Marxist. Life is changing. It always does.
Okay, comrade. Does Elizabeth Warren, the good senator, has she gone far enough left for you? Surely not.
No, she hasn't, but I can see that what she's doing is continuing, in a sense, what Bernie Sanders was trying to do, which is to open up the question of what direction that party should be. And I think it's a reflection of what's happening in the United States.
Again, this was before Bernie had started his campaign.
Rich and poor, and those who benefit from government programs and those who don't, and so on. There are going to be questions about the political life we lead, and the old style is going to vanish, and new parties and new splits will emerge, and she's just part of that.
Now, look, that's interesting political commentary, bearing in mind the state of America today.
Right.
Now, Bernie Sanders, he wants to go a little bit further left, I think. He's got this single-payer idea, Medicare for all.
Right.
Oh yeah, further than Warren.
A report from the Urban Institute that says that Medicare for all over a 10-year period would cost $32 trillion. That's a little daunting, isn't it?
It's daunting. It's one of many estimates, some of which are much lower than that. So you have to kind of.
But whatever it takes, you would take it off the rich.
No, I would take it off a change in the economic system. I don't think whacking one group of the population to help another is a way to build a community or to build a nation. I would never do that.
How would you come up with trillions of dollars? Let's call it $32 trillion. How, by changing the economic system, how do you come up with that money?
Well, to give you an example, we have a society now in which, according to Oxfam in England, something like the richest 25, 30 people own as much wealth as the bottom half of the population of the planet. If you begin to deal with a change in economic system, you would distribute our wealth in a different way. I'm not in favor of taking it from the rich to the poor. I'm in favor of not distributing it unequally in the first place.
So somebody has to give up their wealth. and you're the one who's going to take it.
No.
Yes.
What a perspective.
System so the wealth is not distributed in that way in the first place.
Oh, well, it's already been distributed in that way. What do you have, a revolution?
No, that's what you do. You change the way the economy works so it doesn't distribute it to a few people enormously.
Wait a second.
Because that's why we have these struggles.
Jeff
We
Bezos.
take from the rich to give to the poor, and then they're surprised at the society.
Uh-oh, he's making too much sense.
Jeff Bezos has a personal wealth right now of roughly $90 billion.
Yes.
That's wealth. How do you take it?
Jesus.
How do you
Oh,
that wealth, which is now his?
Right. You can notice if you talk to Jeff Bezos or Warren Buffett or Bill Gates or any of those other folks, they're in the process of giving that wealth away to charities, to whatever it is that occurs to them to do. They're famous for doing that. I have a better suggestion. Change the economic system so that we don't have one person
They've
in a position
got
to
it.
do that.
But they've got it right now. They've got it. Oh, you've got it.
But we live in a
reason
democracy.
you've
If
gotta
the
take it off
majority
them.
of people were to understand how a different economic system would distribute things in a different way, we would have the mechanism to go.
What about right now?
No, you got to change the system. Even with it,
Changing
change
the system. You take it off somebody. You take it off me. You take it off Liz. You take it off Ashley. If you've
You know, the
accumulated
irony-
wealth, you take it off.
The irony
Who is this
I
idiot?
am a socialist. Telling to you, I'm not in favor of
You have to
taking it
watch
from
more
one
of this
group
guy.
and giving it to another.
Haven't seen him.
Different systems, so we're not in
Barney?
You've not explained to me how,
Stuart
when
Varney.
we've got this different system, magically the wealth owned by the Bezos people of this world suddenly goes away from them and goes to other people. You've not
Who
explained
the
how
what?
So let me
it's
suggest how
a
we can
vague
do it.
change in the economic
No,
system doesn't work.
It's very concrete. Let me explain. Suppose you had, which we already have around the world, something called a worker co-op, a situation in which a business is owned and operated by all the people in a democratic way. So they sit around and decide, like we do with political decisions, how we produce, what technology we use, and how we distribute the fruits of what everybody helps to produce. They would never give billions to one person while everybody else can't send their kids to school.
Yeah, because
a cooperative production system.
you have expropriated the wealth. Because when we get to that system where the workers sit
What
around
is
and
wealth,
distribute
Mr.
it,
Barney?
you've
Explain to me where wealth comes from.
and taken it away from the people who've got it now. You
Absolutely.
have expropriated
You've
it
changed the
by
system.
force. You have done it by force.
Force?
I'm not going to give you
Democratically,
You're going to
idiot.
take it off me.
But you agree that we live in a democratic system, and if the majority
no,
of the people
no,
want to change it,
I got
then
you.
you would go along with it. Otherwise, you're
no,
not
no.
supporting the democracy.
You are taking it off me. Somebody with a gun, a police officer, will come to my house and...
What is he talking about?
It's expropriation. That's what you're talking about.
I'm talking about letting the people in this country and every other country decide whether they would rather have an economic system that functions democratically at the workplace or keep the one we have, which produces this inequality that puts us at each other's throats.
Okay, we'll agree to differ. How about this one? Sir Richard Branson, multi-billionaire. He wants a universal income for all.
I don't think Varney understands what he's talking about.
Taking over, somebody's got to provide an income for the people who lose their jobs. You in favour of that? In principle, are you in favour of
He's
the
hired for that very
universal
reason.
income?
No,
Jesus.
Really?
no.
Why not?
I told you, socialism, Marxism, these things are changing and rethinking just like everybody else. Here's what I don't like about the universal basic income. I like the idea that we can take care of everybody, and we ought to as a nation. What I don't like is to divide society into those who work and earn their income and those who don't work and still get an income. I don't see that as healthy. I don't see that as fair. And I see that as a prescription for trouble down the road. Here's my suggestion. When we have technological change like robots, computers, let the work day be shortened. Make everybody work to do their fair share and so participate in the benefits of technology with a shorter work week for everybody, so nobody gets an income without working and no one works without getting an income. That would be a better way to take care of people than what we do now, which is use technology to make a lot of profits for people, throw a lot of people out of work, and then be surprised when they're at each other.
Do you realize that you now have the largest audience of capitalists that you will ever have in your life? Do you realize that?
No, I hope I will have more of them.
I hope we get more of them too.
Yeah.
Work together on it.
Last one, and I've never ever
That's
been
an important
able to
thing,
nail
get in the
down
bubble.
Socialist, Marxist, communist, or whatever on this. Never know how to get it. Someone who makes $10 million a year, for example, this is before the revolution.
Right.
As of right now, you make $10 million a year. What's
Mentioning the
fair
revolution.
share of the government from that $10 million a year?
Here, the answer depends on your understanding how our tax system works.
No, it doesn't.
It does.
No.
Because it's not about a rate.
No, it doesn't.
I'm asking you what the rate should be.
Right, but the question is,
Tell me.
rate on what? That $10 million
On your
person.
earned income.
Well, that's not the only tax we pay. We pay on our property. We pay
Okay, tell me about the earned income tax rate.
just the part about the.
Oh my God.
Somebody makes $10 million a year in earned
This is
income. They
cringy.
work every day, whatever it is, and they get paid $10 million a year, $800,000 a month. What is the fair share of the government from that $10
He
million?
keeps trying to set up a gotcha.
We go back to that which
Yeah.
was in place under President
yeah, Richard
Republican
Wolff is too
President
smart for
Dwight
that.
Eisenhower. 50 years ago, we had a tax system that took a great deal more from that person than the tax system we have today, and we had a faster rate of growth, and we had lower unemployment.
You
Yet,
had
so why
recessions
not?
every other year.
What?
You had recessions every other year.
And you
You
had
had-
recessions
you had-
I mean, we're in our
We're already having recessions every other year right now.
yeah, like, and that doesn't necessarily speak to like, I don't know, like I don't know where I was going with that, but what I was going to say is that we're in our teens. I don't know, like, are you 20 yet?
I'm 19. I'm going to be 20 next year.
But yeah, like, we're this young and already we've had like 2 giant recessions in our lifetimes.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Recessions
Yeah.
every other year.
Never have we had that.
And also,
During
hold on a second, hold on a second.
Never had that.
There's one thing you are forgetting.
Fucking shut her down.
1950s, 60s, and 70s, there were enormous deductions which wealthy people could
Always,
take, and that
absolutely.
lowered their tax rate.
Right.
It wasn't anywhere near 70%.
Absolutely, but it was way above what we have now. And so I wanted to stress, I'm not asking for something utopian and strange and distant in the future.
Yes, just
I
tax
just
the rich.
want us to go back to what we all as a nation,
Tax the rich.
including our Republican
Tax
president,
the rich
thought
and
was appropriate.
expropriate wealth.
No,
Yeah.
change the system so
I
we
was
don't have the
brought up
problem.
with folks like you.
Yeah, Varney doesn't want him to talk anymore.
That's why you were surprised by what I said.
No, I wasn't. You can never surprise me, Professor. And that was fun.
Good.
Will you come back?
Absolutely.
If I invite you. All right, Professor. You're all right. Thanks very much, Conrad.
Where does Wolff teach?
he's an economist.
Yeah, but is he a professor somewhere?
He is a professor. I forgot
Yeah,
where.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think I have one of his books on my stack of books that I have to read.
I don't know. I've been told that I should read Democracy at Work.
Oh, University of Massachusetts Amherst. That's a good school.
Yeah, I've heard that university name dropped when talking about like a study about like how much money like Medicare for All would save us. But yeah, like like the amount of smugness and how condescending Stuart Varney is. Like,
Yeah,
God damn.
it's a performative art. It's not news or analysis or anything. It's I've been tasked with presenting an agenda. I have a neat accent and an element of charisma, and I've been tasked with delivering the agenda to the people. And you're on, Richard Wolff, to present the opposite opinion so that I can beat you down. And then Richard Wolff didn't play into the game, and he got really upset, but he couldn't drop the performance, and that's what happens.
Yeah.
That's designed. I mean, it's destined to fail.
Yeah. And when he was talking about our tax system post World War II, and like he was talking about like we really taxed the rich like a lot back then, and we saw record growth and like, you know, and that's not a lie, you know, like the baby boomer generation got
Mhm.
everything.
Oh yeah.
And like, you know, Stuart Varney was just denying basic historical facts.
Yeah.
And, like, Richard Wolff was like, oh yeah, under that system we experienced like, you know, giant growth. He's like, oh no, we didn't. And then someone said, oh, we had recessions all the time. It's like,
Yeah, we have recessions every other year, so we never had that. Right.
yeah. One thing that Richard Wolff talked about in that clip is, you know, the fact that, you know, a lot of these billionaires like to donate to charity, and like a lot of their like, you know, public brand is based on that, like, you know, philanthropy.
Absolutely.
And I hear libertarians talk about that as being a better way to give money to, you know, people who need it. You know, that is a better way to, you know, to actually like help people in need than a tax system to do it.
Right. Yeah, and that's obviously not true. I mean, no one. I don't think any human being, no matter how well intentioned, knows how to handle $1 billion properly. I think it's just outside the ability of human beings.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like this modern phenomenon, the idea of $1 billion. I mean, it's, you know, I don't want to like get too deep into like esoteric philosophy stuff, but
Yeah. And Warren Buffett, of all people, really understands this really well. Like, he said some years ago that like he should write a book about like how to get by on $100 billion, because it's apparent that some people don't know how to. Like kind of a tongue-in-cheek
yeah, I mean,
jab at the billionaires who are acting like, you know, Obama's new tax system back in the day, or like new proposed tax system back in the day was like, you know, one person said it. I feel like being in Poland in Hitler's
yeah,
Europe. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Oh,
I'm-
he wants to raise your taxes a little bit. It's totally relatable to the Holocaust.
yeah, I mean, yeah, there's not much else to add to that. I mean, donating. Yeah, I mean, you know, if donating to charity worked, we would see that it worked, but it doesn't. And we have seen in the past that changing the tax system to benefit the lower classes does work. I mean,
Yeah.
what Richard Wolff was saying under Eisenhower, even under Reagan to an extent, he raised taxes on the rich a lot.
Yeah, and it's not like charity doesn't work like entirely. It does have, like, it does work, but it really only works in the short term rather than the long term. It's not
Right.
like built
It's not
in
a
system.
systemic, yeah, it's not a systemic solution. It's
Yeah.
like a Band-Aid. You can't just keep putting, you know, Band-Aids on a wound that needs to be stitched up.
Yeah. Like it needs to have you know, charity is more or less, you know, like with a lot of people, it's just more or less like a one-time donation.
But also, like, I think
Whereas like, you know, a tax system is more constant.
there's like a deeper point here as well. Like, who really wants to live under an economic system in which their welfare is dependent upon the generosity of someone who just so happens to have $1 billion or billions of
Yeah.
dollars? I mean, that's
That ideal is like it's like what trickle down economics is pretty much based entirely on. Like you
Right.
give the rich more money, and then they'll just share it. Even though,
who wants to live that way? Exactly. I mean, it's just a bad argument, even if you look at it from their perspective.
shit.
You know, maybe you can view the government as untrustworthy, you know, whatever. But
Yeah.
individuals are far more untrustworthy than an institution, and that's in almost every case.
Yeah, and and the real difference is, like, you know, in the case of politicians, we have the power to hold them accountable through our vote, through our protest, whereas, you know, rich people aren't really like accountable to anyone except themselves.
Exactly.
Like, you know, business owners in general aren't really accountable to anyone except themselves. Like, they don't have to do anything as long as it is legal. Like, they'll do it. Like, they will and they can do it.